So this is Todd. He is diagnosed with VCP, and this is just a little bit of his backstory of the diagnosis, how he is accommodated in the shooting space, and what that means for him.
Called VCP or
Okay.
villosing containing protein. The doctors call it multisystem proteinopathy, but it's very much like ALS.
Okay.
But it's just got a little bit slower of a progression, but ultimately it is terminal.
Mm,
And the primary thing, like it affects your muscles. 90% of VCP patients have muscle issues, basically myopathy.
okay.
And that is the primary thing that I suffer from. And so that's the main cause of my disability. Because as it's progressed, I can't walk
Mm.
without a walker anymore.
When the diagnosis happened versus when you started having symptoms, how long it took for all of that to get figured out?
Oh, yeah, I'll try to keep it short and sweet,
Sure.
but I'm 48 years old now.
Okay.
And back in my early 30s, I kind of felt like something was going wrong. My strength and my ability just wasn't progressing like, normally it should.
Sure.
That doesn't happen with my disease. Okay.
Okay.
My muscles will never get better no matter what I do.
Mm, mm,
And so I always thought something was wrong because I wasn't, getting the bulk like
right.
a lot of my peers were, and my legs were getting cramps
Mm,
frequently and some tingling. And I went to the doctor multiple times, and they're just like,
right.
there's nothing wrong with you. It took me 10 years
Oh my God.
to get a diagnosis that I finally got after a genetic test in 2018.
Okay.
So in December 2018, I got the bad news. In September or October, whatever, the doctor's like, yes, something is wrong, but we don't
Yeah.
know what it is.
Right.
And I'm like, finally, I was thrilled. I'm like, finally, somebody believes me and they're taking me seriously.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, you need to get a genetic test
Okay.
to really figure out because we know you have myopathy for it, but we don't know what kind. We don't know
Okay.
if it's curable because some is curable, some is not.
Interesting. Okay. Okay.
Or I should say treatable, not necessarily curable.
Okay.
And then when I got the doctor got the test results, he called me and he's like, yeah, you know, there's and he's just like, your test results show that you have this genetic disorder called
Mm.
VCP, and at this time there's no treatment or cure. There's, nothing we could do. And so I'm like, fuck. And
Yeah, really.
that was a really bad, that was a really bad day.
I'm sure.
Um, because there was nothing they could do. He had no advice because the disease is so rare
Mm.
that he didn't really know what to do. Yeah, that was really tough.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so that kind of really started, that started my disability where I really realized that, I bad things were in my future and that I will be, ultimately I will be fully disabled, as things progress.
Right.
And so, that's kind of where I'm at now
Okay.
is, eventually it will kill me as my muscles degrade and, my heart
Right,
is a
right, right.
muscle. Um, and
That's so
so,
scary.
yeah. And so that's kind of what it is. And it's just having to deal with that emotionally, mentally, but then physically, it's hard, to essentially lose the person that I once was.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. With your diagnosis, and you don't have to answer this if it's like too much of a question, but for example, cancer, if there's terminal cancer, you can kind of get like an estimated date for prognosis. Is that something that exists with this, or is it just because
Nope.
it's okay, degradation of muscle? Okay, okay.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of other VCP patients that I communicate with
Yeah.
all the time, but every patient is a little different. And with VCP, there's some different variants
Mm,
to the disease. Like there are
right,
different types of cancer.
right.
There's different variants to this, and it affects diff people differently.
Okay.
And some people can live to their 60s or 70s. Other
Okay.
people, die in their 40s or even
Mm.
younger. I mean,
Mm.
they've now found that there are even some, children, two,
Mm.
3-year-olds that
Oh
are
my God.
starting, having this disease and it's
Right.
affecting them. It's not a very large proportion, but now that VCP is starting to get a little bit more well known
Mm.
in the scientific and medical community,
Yeah.
and more people get tested for genetic diseases,
Right.
more people are being diagnosed with this. Hopefully, it would get the pharmaceutical companies and the scientific community to really take a deeper look at it.
Yeah. The
Right
pr
now, there's not enough patients. There's only, last I found, there's probably like 2,500 known patients
oh my God. Yeah.
worldwide
The prevalence is
around.
very low.
And so
Oh my
that's
gosh.
not enough
Yeah.
to make a pharmaceutical company really be that interested in it because it could take millions and millions of dollars to come out with a treatment.
Right.
And are they going to be able to make a profit on it? And I hate saying the word profit in this situation,
But
but
it's, yeah, that's what it
that's
is.
the fact.
Yeah. So the next question I have is, I guess pre-diagnosis or when you started noticing these things happening, were you into guns then, or is it something that came later?
It was mostly something that came later. I always had an interest in them because even
Okay.
when I was, young and a teenager, I was very interested in it. But I was also so busy. I was working, I was going
Right.
out and doing other these things. It was never a really high priority for me.
Okay. Okay.
Even though it was a desire,
Sure.
but I just had so much, but I never felt like, I was never disabled at that point.
Right.
I didn't feel vulnerable. I mean, I'm a straight white dude, so
Right. You're pretty
um,
safe.
yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was that urgent for
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
Until my disability really started to kick in.
Okay.
Um, that's when it was like, okay, in a situation, how am I going to defend myself, especially now, as now it seemed, it's okay to shame people with disabilities and those
Sure.
type of
Right. Right.
things.
Right.
Like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Um, all these things lately have really kind of it's put it at the forefront where I really feel like I need to protect myself. But
Okay.
more, I don't know how much longer I have in this world. It's not necessarily about protecting me. I want to protect my
Yeah.
wife is
Fair.
is my absolute number one priority. I've worked so hard and, she t does such a great job taking care of me.
Mm,
Want to make sure she's protected. We've got a wonderful house, we've got two wonderful puppies. Want to make sure that we're safe.
yeah. Fair.
I want to feel better about it. I've done, I've had to do a lot of research about how can I be safe with disabilities.
Sure.
And it's not just about firearms. Because because I have very weak muscles,
Yeah.
not all guns work
Right. Right. Right.
for me, and certainly others with disabilities, but not every disability is the same.
I mean, so would you say in this case, do you feel like it really like helps you with your sense of autonomy? Kind of.
It does. I mean, it
Okay.
does make me feel better.
Okay.
And firearms are one aspect of it.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
And then there's the aspect of me protecting my wife, but also working with my wife
Okay.
so that she can protect herself.
Fair.
You know,
When you're at the range practicing, what is your setup? Are you like in your chair or are you standing or what does it normally look like?
I usually sit in my walker,
Okay.
when I go to the range and, I try to, the walker that I have sits fairly high.
Okay.
It's a little higher than the chairs that they have there. I try to stand at the bench, but I just can't stay up very long. My legs just aren't, if I'm shooting my 380,
Yeah.
it's not very heavy.
Okay.
It has very little recoil. And so I'm usually able to stand for, maybe one magazine worth of
Okay.
shots, and then I have to sit back down again.
Okay. Okay.
But it's hard because the ranges don't really accommodate people with disabilities very
Right.
well.
Right.
The range that I go to, which is closest, well, so far any of the ranges I've gone to have not accommodated them very well. Sitting down to hit the targets,
Right.
I'm usually shooting upwards at a slight angle
Right.
instead of standing.
Right.
And so unless I'm firing down towards the end
Right.
of the range, the bullet's going to go through the
Yeah.
target and hit the ceiling,
Right.
which they don't like.
Right. So they haven't done anything to help you accommodate that by like
No,
adding.
not
Okay.
really. And I'm
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out, if my wife comes with me, or if an able-bodied friend come with me,
Yeah.
I'm looking into if there's like a taller stool, like a
Okay.
bar stool.
Yeah.
I can get up and I can sit in a bar stool, and that
Okay.
would be if I could get a portable bar stool, that might be able.
Right.
But sometimes, well, most of the time, the range manager will come out and they'll put the target up and help try to lower it
Okay.
a little bit. One of the ranges, they've got this little extender that they'll
Okay.
put on to kind of lower it so it don't
Okay.
shoot the ceiling.
Right.
But the primary one that I go to, they don't have anything like that.
Mm.
So I try to be very careful about that.
Did you in this process take any safety courses or
Yeah.
classes or were you okay? So in those classes, one, I guess the first question is, were they pretty adaptive to your needs? And then two, like what would you change if you had the option to change those courses for people with
I mean,
disabilities?
the I went to two classes, and the first one I went by myself, or I went with my wife,
Okay.
and so it was really the instructor was very good at trying to accommodate me, but the facility itself just it wasn't really the best. And the instructor tried hard to help, but they didn't have the equipment. I mean, literally, I
Right.
had to climb steps to get into this to the training facility.
Mm,
And so my wife had to like hold my pants up to
mm,
help give me some additional lift. And
mm.
then, she pulled my wheelchair up the stairs, and I was able to do it once I was there. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad, but so that was hard. I think that's kind of a rare instance,
Okay.
but the training course, the exercises themselves were not really, aimed for people with disabilities.
Okay.
They had to reorganize things so that I can get around. Oh, can you stand up, to do that? I'm like, no.
Yeah, right.
So he
Hmm.
did the best he could
Okay, fair.
with
Okay.
it. I'll give him that. But I really think that for people with disabilities, I think that there should be almost specialized courses for
For
it.
sure. Yeah.
Even though, again, there's so many different disabilities and people with
True.
different capabilities
True.
with that, it's hard. You cannot expect them to be able to accommodate everything.
Yeah, so true.
That's not reasonable. But
Yeah.
at least if they were to try and had, the different calibers and the different array of handguns and rifles and
Yeah.
things that might work better for people to help educate people with disabilities about
Right.
what works for them.
Right.
That's really important to have people assist them with that. Places, gun ranges, if you want to rent a gun instead of buying one, gun ranges don't have a huge selection of it. Or, some guys, hey, do you want to try out a shotgun? Like,
No.
no, that
No.
doesn't, the recoil, there's no recoil absorption mechanism
Right.
on a shotgun.
Right.
Um, at least the typical traditional shotguns. Some new
Right.
shotguns actually do have the some ability to absorb recoil, but because recoil is a big thing when your muscles are weak, and especially for the elderly, people with disabilities, especially recoil is a big deal.
Right. For sure.
And what I found is that some people think, they don't, if they don't have disabilities, they really don't understand what's important, and you can say, oh, recoil is, we need something with low recoil.
Right.
And then they give me a 9 millimeter, little tiny 2 inch
Right.
gun. Like, no, that's just stupid. That's not, that's where like an AR actually, you don't think that's a decent weapon for somebody, but it's not a bad one
Yeah.
because it's larger and it can absorb recoil.
True.
Um, Still, everybody's got to be able to do certain things.
Fair, fair, fair. It sounded like too you had mentioned someone that you go to the range with who's paralyzed. Do you have like a group of folks who are disabled in the community, or is it just someone you happened upon, or?
There's a couple people I know, yeah,
Okay, okay,
who have that. I there's a group of people who have the same disability or the same disease that I do, and I talked to some of them, and
okay,
they own firearms
okay,
and have for a long time, and are in the same boat that I am. And there are some other people that with different disabilities or whatever, or they're fully abled, and we go to the range and we can still have fun.
fair.
People with disabilities can still do a lot, and that is really important to know, and
Write them all.
write them off and,
Yeah,
and judge a book by its cover.
for sure.
Um, well, there is a big, actually, I mean, there's a lot of politics involved with people with
Yeah,
disabilities, and that's one of the reasons why
fair.
it's like I feel like I have to have firearms now because of the politics and
Mm,
even people with disabilities, the LGBTQ people are almost like second
yeah,
class citizens, and they're losing their rights. And I think people with disabilities, and the LB, the other communities, they need to fight for their rights.
yeah, fair. As you mentioned, you're a straight white man. So
Hmm.
in that way, you fit like the narrative of a gun owner, right? But
Of
because you're
course,
coming from a
yeah, but
different perspective, how do
yeah.
you feel that like your story fits into gun ownership mainstream? Do you feel like you're an outlier? Do you feel represented? How does that feel for you?
I still feel like I'm kind of an outlier,
For sure.
especially now because I'm disabled,
Yeah.
right? I mean, people think they could, take advantage of people with disabilities, and I think that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, but I'm, while I'm a straight white guy, I'm also a very, I would say, ultra progressive
Fair.
person. I'm a lot of things that a lot of people hate right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, it's not just because of my disability, there's a lot more of it. And
Right.
because I'm at that stage in my life where I just don't give a shit,
Fair.
I'm very open with I believe that we have to advocate for these things.
Yeah.
I'm very, as I said, I'm very progressive.
Right.
Ultimately, I would love to see the world free of guns, but
Yeah.
we're not there.
That's not the reality.
We're,
Yeah.
and we're not ever going to be there. So when
Yeah.
when people, might disagree with me, which they're certainly free to do so, but there's a reason why.
Yeah.
I feel this way. Well, it makes people feel kind of weird and awkward, like, oh, you're ultra progressive, but you're a Second Amendment supporter.
Right.
Yes, I'm a supporter to a point, right? I
Right.
think there are certain people who
Shouldn't have
I
guns.
fully believe should not be allowed to have firearms. But for the most people, like you and I, we're just here to protect ourselves. We're not out to, demonstrate power over others.
How has living with a terminal diagnosis influenced your views on your like personal freedoms, responsibility, and safety? And not just through the lens of guns, but in general.
I think in general, I mean, it makes me more aware of the limitations
Mm,
on safety, what I can and cannot do.
okay.
Obviously, because my ability to do things has gone down, and I can't do much of what I used to do. Not being able to do that anymore
Mm,
really affects my mental health
for
a
sure.
bit. Still trying to live my best life, the best that I can, trying to enjoy hobbies. There's still a lot I can do,
Yeah.
but I
Okay.
can't. I can't do, do house repairs and,
Mm.
do all that stuff. I can't do that
I
anymore.
guess the last thing too is, the platform is yours. Like, if you were to talk to either gun advocacy groups or lawmakers or anyone, like, what would you want to say in terms of where you're like disabilities and gun laws or disability?
I would say that a lot of the gun laws are just stupid and
Okay.
they don't do anything. Having a short barrel rifle versus a 16-inch, that's not going to prevent mass shootings.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That has nothing, the gun stocks, and stuff and silencers, things like that. I think it's just a way to make lawmakers feel like they're doing something, even
Yeah.
though they're not doing anything. I think a lot of those things are really stupid, and so that's something I've been looking into about getting a suppressor,
Yeah.
and so they're ridiculously expensive. So I'm trying to find one that is reasonable
Fair.
because I'm not one, I have to spend so much money on a lot of my healthcare needs. And I
Right.
also know that my disability is causing my expenses to increase,
Right.
as time goes on, until such time as my body makes the decision or, I make the decision to cut things off.
Right.
So, I wouldn't use a firearm for that.
Yeah. Isn't
It-
assisted suicide legal in Portland?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is. It is very legal, and that's one of the things that I'm. I also am advocating for
Mm.
is medical aid in dying
Right.
or assisted suicide, but
Right.
call it medical aid in
That's
dying.
better. Yeah. Yeah.
Is a little
Yeah.
is a
A
little
little
bit
less
more
grim.
palatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like again, I'm very much an advocate
Yeah.
for.
Okay. That was that was very informative. I really appreciate you sharing like as much as you did. It's very helpful, I think, to paint the picture.
Mhm.
But I really appreciate you like taking the time and like sharing everything and just being really candid because I think this is a topic that I think liberals or progressives in 2A is barely talked about. And then, to expand it to people who are not able-bodied, to open, I guess, the scope for people and help them realize that everyone is in this space and how we can help everyone be accommodated is really important. So
Mhm.
I thank you for spending that time with me. Have a good one.